page 288 if you want to follow at the bottom. A prayer that's basically saying, thank you, God, for allowing me to wake up again this morning. Modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shehechezarta b'nishmati b'chemla Rabba emunatecha Rabba emunatecha Moda ani lefanecha Melech chai v'kayam Shehechezarta B'nishmati b'chemla Rabba emunatecha Rabba emunatecha.
Shabbat Shalom. Good morning to all of you on this beautiful fall day. Most of you here, I think, know who we are, but for those of you who don't, I'm Niles Goldstein. I'm the rabbi of CBS. This is Gordon Lustig, our music director. And we are here to celebrate not only the Sabbath, not only Shabbat, but of course Eli Ewig's bar mitzvah. So we say Mazel Tov to his mom and dad, Audrey and Eric, and his family and friends. We are all here to celebrate your special milestone in your journey as a young Jewish man. We're going to begin the service by having your grandmother, Marcia, put a talit on your shoulders, your talit, and then I'm going to have you say the blessing, and then you're going to come up and we're going to do the service together. Very good. Thank you, Marcia. Eli, here's the blessing. It's on page 190 if you want to follow along. Amen. We're going to continue our service on page 192 with the singing of Ma Tovu. Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Va'ani berov chastecha, Avo ve'techa, Eshtacha ve'elhecha kodshecha, B'yiratecha, Ma Tovu, Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael,
Bemotecha Yisrael.
Page 193.
May the one whose spirit is with us in every righteous deed be with all who work for the good of humanity and bear the burdens of others, and who give bread to the hungry, who clothe the naked, and take the friendless into their homes. May the work of their hands endure, and may the seed they sow bring abundant harvest.
We turn now to page 198 for what are known as the Birchot HaShachar, the morning blessings. Judaism doesn't treat life as a given, it treats life as a gift. And so every morning, and especially on Shabbat, we have this series of blessings that Eli is going to lead us in that express gratitude to God for so many different aspects of our lives, for waking up, for health, for well-being, for community, for the Jewish community, for our tradition. And Eli is going to lead us in this beginning on page 198.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech v'vina, l'chavhin ben yom u'ben laila.
Who has given the mind the ability to distinguish
Day from night.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Who opens the eyes of the blind.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Who frees the captive.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim.
Who
Who lifts up the fallen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, rokach haaretz al hamayim.
Who stretches the earth over the waters.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaver.
Who strengthens our steps.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Who clothes the naked.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten la'ev koach.
Who gives strength to the weary.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir shena me'enai utnuma me'afapai.
Who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tselem Elohim.
Who made me in the image of God.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorin.
Who has made me free.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael.
Who has made me a Jew.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Who girds Israel with strength.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Who crowns Israel with splendor.
That's a lot of blessings. Can you imagine doing that every single morning? Yes? No? No. We're going to continue on page 226, and I'd like to ask you to please rise for our call to worship, the Baruch Hu.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai ha-mevorach. Baruch Adonai ha-mevorach, ha-mevorach le'olam va'ed. Ha-mevorach, ha-mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Page 229. And please join me in reading the passage at the top of the page. In the beginning, even then, a new light was sown for the righteous, a promise that your light would become the catalyst, first for order and then for hope. Another author of language and light, help us to use words as you have, to cast light into dark waters and draw out justice and truth. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMe'orot. Page 231. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us as we climbed, fell back and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, haboher be'emo Yisrael, be'ahava. Eli is about to lead us now on page 232, the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. This is arguably the most important prayer in the Jewish tradition. It's also one of the shortest. It's a prayer in which we say, Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Almost the quintessential statement of monotheism, the core Jewish value that dates all the way back to the very beginnings of our people as recorded in the Torah. It is a prayer that Jews traditionally say when they wake in the morning and when they go to sleep at night. And even if you are able, it is the last words on a Jew's lips before they pass from this world. It's a very fitting prayer, I think, for a Shabbat morning service, and one that is going to lead us further toward the Torah reading, where Eli is going to read more of the teachings and more of the values of our ancient tradition.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
Do I do the Ve'ah?
Now you do the vow.
Right now? Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol levavecha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'odecha, v'chayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, b'dibar taban, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'lechtecha b'derech, u'shokbecha u'v'kunecha, Ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'chayu lefot beinenecha, uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, lema'an tiskaru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'item kadoshim le'elohechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim, Liot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem.
We continue on page 240 with the singing of Mi Chamocha.
Bim bam yum bum bim bim bye yabba bye bim bam ya la 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 yabba bye bim bam ya la 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 yabba bye bim bam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot o sefel Nora tehilot o sefel Shira chadasha shivahu ga'ulim L'shimcha asafat hayam Yachad kulam hodu v'himlichu v'ameru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Yam bam bam bim bim bye yabba bye bim bam Yam bam bam bim bim bye yabba bye bim bam Ya la 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 yabba bye bim bam Ya la 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 yabba bye bim bam
We're on page 242. The Jewish prayer book in many ways represents countless voices of Jewish people speaking to us throughout the centuries, throughout the ages. We just sang Mi Chamocha. These words are taken from the Bible itself. And yet now we're going to be hearing words from the rabbis who wrote many centuries after the words of the Bible, taken together this kind of anthology of Jewish voices throughout the centuries from many different periods, many different places, represents our collective aspirations, our dreams for a world perfected, when we will treat one another with kindness and with compassion and with respect. This section is known as the Amidah. Eli is going to be leading us in it. It's a series of blessings. Amidah in Hebrew means standing, so this is a standing prayer. So Eli is going to lead us in the first two blessings, and then afterwards we're going to each pray in our own way, silently, and then I'd like to ask you to please be seated when you're finished. But for now, please rise, page 242.
The Tefillah? Adonai, Sefer Tach Ufia Gitahilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Ve'Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, Ve'Elohei Leah, Ha-El Hagadol, Hagibor, V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Kol, V'Zocher Hastei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'Nehem, Laman Shemo Ba'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechaye Hakol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umakayim Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Bal Kivarot, Umidom Elach, Melech Mimit, Umachaye, Umatmi Achishua, V'ne'eman Atah L'Chachayot Hakol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye Hakol.
Page 258. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Chen v'chesed, v'rachamim, v'rachamim, sim shalom, tova uvracha, sim shalom, tova uvracha. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Amecha sim shalom, tova uvracha, sim shalom, tova uvracha, sim shalom, tova uvracha.
At this point in our service, we think of those in need of healing on this Shabbat, healing of body, healing of spirit, and healing of heart. And we ask God to bestow the bracha, the blessing of refuah shlema, full and complete healing on the following members of our congregation and on those known and loved by those in our community. Harris Nussbaum, Lynn Mikulski, Ilana Massey, Kevin Brackett, Ginny Sims, Eileen Conklin, Nancy Jeanette, Michelle Camisia, Joshua Hyman, Dylan Bonnick, Diane Butler, Elsa Loach, Tony Wine, Elena Goldman, Mark Charney, Roger Widman, Ralph Garber, Maggie Sherman, Colleen James, and Michael Edwards. And if anyone here would like to share the name of someone in need of healing today, please do so as my hand meets your eyes. The Misha Berach is on page 511.
Berach Avotenu, Mishe Berach V'imotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Hu Yevarech et HaCholim, Mishe Berach Avotenu, Mishe Berach V'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Hu Yevarech et HaCholim.
We're on page 362. for Seder Kriyat Torah, the service for the reading of the Torah. Jews are known as the people of the book for good reason. The centerpiece of Shabbat worship and of the bar or bat mitzvah experience is the reading of the Torah scroll that we're going to be removing from the ark momentarily, the words of our tradition, the narratives of our people, the teachings, the practices, our history, who make us who we are. Judaism is not a religion of dogma, it is a religion of dialogue. And our tradition speaks to us as we speak to it, and we always, in each generation, try to find how it is relevant and meaningful to our lives. Eli is going to be offering some words about this himself, about the Torah portion that he has been studying for how many months now? Many months. He's going to be reading from his Torah portion. He's going to be offering insights about it, and in his own way is going to be showing how these ancient teachings are meaningful and relevant to him as a bar mitzvah. So we are going to rise as we open the ark, and I'd like to call up Cameron, Ari, and Aiden.
Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kama'asecha, malchutecha malachut kol olamim, umimshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch Leolam va'ed, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, Adonai udavar Adonai mi Yerushalayim. Ki mit Baruch Shenatan Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'Kedushato.
At this point in the Torah service, we are going to pass the Torah Lador Vador, thank you guys, Lador Vador, from generation to generation, as the tangible, tactile symbol of the Jewish tradition. All of the stories, all of the teachings, all of the moral principles are contained in this scroll. And Eli, you're going to receive this Torah scroll from the hands of your family. But before we do that, I want to acknowledge Alan Ewig, your grandfather, who is not with us today, but who is with us in spirit. We also want to acknowledge your two great-grandmothers, Pearl Shine and Molly Hewig, who I believe are watching from home. It's being streamed at home. But now I'd like to call up your grandmother, Marcia, and Jacob Koff, your dad, Eric, Audrey, Noah, and Annika. And you'll stand toward the end. Eli, as you receive this Torah and this tradition from the hands of your family and from Monica last, I'd like to ask you to lead us in the following prayers.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shema.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shemo. Gadu Adonai iti u'deroma shemo yachdav. Exalt Adonai with me. Let us extol God's name together.
לך אדוני הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד כי כה בשמיים ובארץ כי כה בשמיים ובארץ לך אדוני הממלכה והעמיד נעשה לכל ראש Romans Adonai Eloheinu והשתחוו להר קודשו רוממו Adonai Eloheinu והשתחוו להר קודשו כי קדוש Adonai Eloheinu רוממו כי קדוש Adonai Eloheinu רוממו.
The Torah portion that I think you're about to start reading already. I just have to say a couple things. The Torah portion that Eli is going to be reading this morning is called Akev. He's going to be reading from the book of Deuteronomy, the very last of the 5 books of Moses, chapter 7. And it is a very important Torah portion that talks about the covenant with God, the relationship between God and the Jewish people. It is a relationship that is conditional. There are certain expectations that God has of our community that we are urged to meet. But it is also one anchored in love and in compassion and in forgiveness, because we all fall short of the goals, of the aspirations of our teaching. And yet, nevertheless, we are still urged, each and every generation, to do the best that we possibly can, to be good people and to be good Jews. So there are 3 aliyot, 3 groups of people who will be called to the bima to say the blessings before and after the Torah reading. And the first one is going to be Marcia and Jacob. Ya'amdu aliyah reishit. I'll do it after this, right here.
Where's he starting?
Right here.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Amvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai. I'm sorry. Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Do I start? V'chaya Akev Tishmun 8 Hamishpatim Ha'ele Ushmartem V'asitem Otam V'shamar Adonai Elohecha L'cha et Habarit V'etcha Chesed Asher Nishba La'avotecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Do we stay or go?
You can go sit. And for our second aliyah, I'd like to call up Audrey, Eric, Noah, and Annika. Ya'amdu aliyah shenit. Baruch Adonai Amvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Va'ahevacha uveirachacha v'hirbecha uveirach parivinacha ufriad matecha deganacha v'tiroshecha v'yisarecha shigar alafecha v'ashtarot sonecha all ha'adama asher nishba la'avotecha latet lach.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayeh olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. And for our third and final aliyah is our bar mitzvah himself, Eli. Ya'amud aliyah shlishit bar hamitzvah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamarach.
Baruch Adonai Amvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Baruch tiyeh mikol ha'amim, lo yiyeh v'cha akar v'akara, uviv hamtecha, v'hesir Adonai mimecha kol choli v'chol madvei Mitzrayim harayim asher yadata lo yisimam bach untanam b'chol sonecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Please rise.
Torah asher sam Moshe livnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Eitz chaim hi lemachazikim ba v'tomecheha. Eitz chaim hi lemachazikim ba v'tomecheha. Deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivvoteha. Deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivvoteha. Lai 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 la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Please be seated. That is always the most complicated and loudest part of the service. Thank you, Zoe. We are going to move now, after the reading of the Torah portion, to a reading of a prophetic portion, known as a Haftara. It's a reading from one of the books of the prophets that the rabbis thought was linked in some thematic way to the Torah portion that has been read. And Eli's going to be reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 49.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nbiim tovim v'ratzav v'divrehem hane'emarim v'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nbiei ha'emet v'tzedek. V'tomer Tzion azavani Adonai v'Adonai shehechani hatishkach isha ula merachem ben bitnach gam eile tishkachna v'anochi lo eshkachech hein o kapayim hakotich homotayich negdi tamid maharu ba'anaich macharsaich umacharivaich mimeye itzehu sisaviv einaich uri kulam nikbatu v'ulach hayani ne'um Adonai ki chulam ka'adi tilbashi ukasharim kakala ki chorvotaich v'shomamotaich v'eretz harisutech ki ata tetzeri miyoshev v'rachaku mavalaich od yomaru v'oznaich b'nei shikulaich tzarli hamakom gashali ve'sheva v'amart bilvaveich mi yadli et eile v'ani shiklulach v'gamuda gola v'sura v'eile mi gidel hein ani nasharti lavadi eile efo hein. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol haolamim tzadik b'chol hadarot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'osech ha'medaber u'mekayim shekol devarav emet v'tzedek al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al hanvim v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu L'kdusha v'limnucha l'chavod ol tifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach v'mvarhim otach yitbarach shimha b'fi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat.
Amen.
Hello, and thank you all for coming today. First, I would like to say a huge thank you to my mom, my dad, Ann, the rabbi, and Gordon for helping me study and prepare for this day. In my Torah portion, it discusses how God is always taking care of us, and if we follow His commandments, we will always be loved and fed. In my portion, while God is talking to the Jewish people, He tells them that if they obey His laws, they will be loved. It also talks about how nobody in their family, their animals, or their friends will ever be barren. One last thing God tells the people is that they must remember what He did to Egypt and the Pharaoh. This shows that He tells them if they do not follow His laws, He can give them horrible punishments. An example of God showing His love to someone who follows His commandments could be if they are sick, they could be healed. Or if their crops or cows have an infection, they would be healed also. Today, our view of God is different from what it was when He was talking to the Jewish people in my portion. Back then it was simple. Follow His commands and you will be rewarded. Today, however, It is not a transactional relationship as it was then. Today, people follow God's rules not just for fear of being punished for not following them, but for reasons like empathy and caring. We also recognize today that some of the commandments are just normal things to do. For example, not killing or not stealing. These are basic expectations in society today, and most people abide by these rules not for fear of being punished, but because it's simply the right thing to do. In summary, my portion is all about how if you follow God's commands, you will be greatly rewarded, but if you disobey his commands, he could severely punish you for your actions. Finally, I would like to say another huge thank you to Ann Pursley for helping me study this past year. I would also like to thank my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sisters for helping me through these challenging times. I would also like to say thank you to the rabbi and Gordon for always supporting me. And of course, thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Eli. I have a few words I'd like to share with you, but first I know that your mom and dad do as well, so I'm going to invite Eric and Audrey to come up to the bima. How do you feel? Good. Good? You want to do it again?
No.
Sorry, I'm not good at ad-libbing, so I have a script. Eli, I'm so proud of you. You have worked very hard for today. Starting over a year ago, you've dedicated yourself to the task of preparing for today. You have persisted despite a pandemic, Hebrew lessons by Zoom with imperfect computer audio, which was far from ideal, and rescheduling the date of your ceremony. And you have done it all without a complaint about the preparation. Not once did you complain about the lessons or the time you put in for today, maybe until the speech writing with the lessons. Instead, you just simply put the work in. Eli, you tend to have a below-the-radar approach to your accomplishments, whether it be your classes in school, your leadership activities, or your bar mitzvah. You don't do any of those things with fanfare or public display, but the end result is always fantastic and something which you should be very proud of. I think it's fitting that one of the themes in your Torah portion, a different theme than the one you spoke about, is about the value and importance of incremental victories in accomplishing things of magnitude. Today is a prime example of that. Little by little, week by week, you put the time in, and it culminates today. I'm so proud of you and so very proud to be your mom. You are so smart, kind, fun, and funny. Sorry for crying.
Take your time, it's okay.
I am excited to see what the future holds for you. I have no doubt that you will accomplish amazing things and that the people you know, whether they be friends, family, or colleagues in whatever career you eventually choose, will be better because of knowing you and having you in their lives. I love you, Eli. Me too.
You can smile now, the hard part's over. Great job, Eli. Thank you all very much for coming. Thank you, Ann. Where's Ann? Amazing, right? One more in the queue, but you got a couple generations down. My sister and myself, thank you very much. Audrey, thanks for organizing everything. Great speech. I'm very impressed. Nice job. I never really know what to say at times like this, besides the thank yous. So for me, a lot of what Judaism has evolved, and a lot of it is about the tradition now. And so I want to read you a little something that the man we call Papu, my father, Alan Ewig, whose name you carry on and has been gone about the same amount of time you've been alive, wrote. So you have to forgive. Well, I swore I wouldn't wear reading glasses today, but I think this is going to require it. But when he wrote this, he didn't really know about you, right? You weren't around yet. So I won't read the whole thing. I won't make you read it because it's in cursive. So I'm wearing this, which is his talit, as you can see from the bag that thankfully Bubby had secured and kept because I probably would have lost it. So this says, "Dear family," and this is from July of 2007. My talit is in its original bag from 1957 with my name on it. I wish to pass it down for the bar mitzvah, or b'nai mitzvah would be more appropriate. And he wanted it first to be to Natalie and then to Allison, followed by Noah and Annika. And obviously, there was also you in the queue that he didn't know about. This will be his way for his grandchildren to have something from their papu and know how much they are loved by him. That tradition remains intact. I will miss you at your bar mitzvah, but I will be with you in spirit on that day and on many other days. So I think that's pretty special, and I think it speaks to the idea of the tradition, and that maybe what you did today and the process moving up to it will mean something different to you in the future. And I'd like you to just think about that, think about what your family means, what it means to be a Jew, and what that tradition means both generationally throughout time. I think the Torah you read today is, 4,000, 6,000 years old? I don't even know. It's old, right? So this is all going to mean different things to you in time. So great job. Congratulations. I love you.
Me too.
I don't know how I'm gonna follow words like that. Beautiful words, Audrey and Eric. But I did want to say a few things myself. First of all, fist bump. Great job. I became the rabbi of this congregation a little more than 4 years ago. And one of the very first B'nai Mitzvahs that I officiated at was your brother Noah's. How long ago was that? 3 years ago? Yeah. And then came Annika. I think the very last B'nai Mitzvah we had right before COVID, and now you. And Zoe, you're down the road. You did such a great job. It has been such an honor to get to know your family and to get to know you a little bit during this process leading up to this day. You have honored your family. You have honored our tradition. You're a pretty stoic guy. I don't know you that well. I can never quite be sure whether you're enjoying yourself, finding it meaningful, just going through the motions. I don't know. And in some ways, it doesn't necessarily matter because you've been committed to this process. And sometimes being a Jew is just about doing the work. And you did the work, you did the training, the preparation with Anne's help masterfully. And I don't know, as your dad said, what or your mom said, what the future is going to hold for you. You have talked about how the relationship between God and the Jewish people evolves and changes over time, and the way that your Torah portion talked about that relationship is very different than the way we think about it today. Well, I think our relationship to Judaism changes and evolves over time. So I hope, as you now are a bar mitzvah, a young Jewish man who is accepting the mantle of this tradition, I hope that your relationship with our holidays and with our rituals and with our practices intensifies with time, enriches your life, and that you find it very meaningful. Because Judaism, to answer your question, Eric, has been around 6,000 years, and it's going to be around a lot longer. And I know that you are going to honor us by honoring it. And so I want to give you a certificate to remember this day by, and also to offer you a priestly benediction, which is one of the oldest prayers in Judaism. And I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for this. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. May God's countenance smile upon you and be gracious to you. Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence be with you and grant you peace. And let us all say, Amen. Good job. Mazel tov. I still need you to stay up here a little bit longer. We're going to invite up Zoe, Annika, and Noah to open the ark, and we are going to put the Torah back into the ark. We're on page 374.
Hodo al eretz v'shamayim vayarem keren lehamo tehila lechol chasidav livnei Yisrael am keruvo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Etz chaim hi lemachazikim ba v'tomecheha meushar deracheha darchei noam B'chol netivotecha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu
The Aleinu is on page 586.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol Lateit gedula li'yotzer b'reshit Shelo asanu kegoye haratzot Velo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama Shelo sam chelkenu kahem V'gora leinu kechol hamonam V'anachnu korim Umishtachavim umodim Lifnei melech Malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo Ushemo Echad.
Please be seated. Eli, one more person has something they want to say to you, and that's our congregation's president, Mark Samrick. So Mark, would you please come up to the bima?
Levi, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, get over here just a second here. I got some things for you I want to present to you. First of all, as I've said before to other Parbat mitzvahs, one of the joys and one of the privileges of being president is to be able to be here and to experience and to watch what a tremendous job you all have done, and you did such a beautiful job today. Congratulations. It's such a commitment on your part, and I'm just so proud to watch you. And I want to wish congratulations and mazel tov to your mom and dad and your whole family for what you have done today. And we just want to wish you the very best. What I have a couple of gifts. A Kiddush cup that I would like to present to you that I hope that you will use when you have your own home someday, and be something that you'll remember of this day today. And also a couple of books about the history of the Jews here in the Napa Valley, and also a book on the Torah. So again, congratulations to all of you, and just the very best for you in the future, and we hope to see you many times here in the synagogue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We remember those who have died during the preceding year. Rosie Rosenthal, Elliot Kapchan, Bill Chiat, Ed Hames, Arthur Waldinger, Judy Donaldson, Elizabeth Mautner, Helen Goodman, Michael Duff Fisher, Margaret Mary Oliveto, Ahuva Ben David, Dr. I. Harold Shevlin, Isadora Smith, Sanford Rubin, Stuart Paley, Bonnie Kapeloff Mamie, Dr. Ian Miller, Jimmy Rabb, Sandra Somek, Michael Gordon, Larry Elson, Arnold Trombler, and Erica Cornelison. We also remember and honor the Yartsites, the anniversaries of the deaths of Melody Sobelman, Rose Sheffrin, Murray Sills, Estelle Yesowich, Ray Krieger, Harvey Abramowitz, Jack Seidek, Ziva Sivan, Mary Elizabeth Merrill, Hilda Altman, Mildred Bremler, Samantha Jane Kessler, Irving Schnabelk, and Evelyn Frank. And if anyone has the name of a loved one they wish to share, please do so.
The mother of Jen Wallenberg.
Please rise for the mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hertei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, b'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all those in mourning, and comfort to all those who are bereaved. And let us all say, amen. Please be seated. We have a final song before I'm going to call Eli and his family back up to the bima for our Kiddush and Motzi. So Gordon, what are we going to end with today?
Well, I thought we would end with a favorite of Eli's.
Okay.
Very serious number. And one that he was always requested since he was really, really little.
Do you know where he's going with this, Eli? Oh, okay.
And it's a song that's a motivational song saying, "Get up, you lazy person. There's work to be done. The rooster is crowing." And it goes like this: Kum b'churatzeil v'tzei la'avodah. Kum b'churatzeil v'tzei la'avodah. Kum v'tzei la'avodah. Kum v'tzei la'avodah. Kukuriku kukuriku tarna go kara. Kukuriku kukuriku tarna go kara. Kum b'churatzeil v'tzei la'avodah. Kum b'churatzeil v'tzei la'avodah. Kum v'tzei la'avodah. Kum
v'tzeil avodah. Kukuriku, kukuriku, tarnagal kara. Kukuriku, kukuriku, tarnagal kara.
Okay, I would like to call Eli and his family back up to the bima, and we are going to do the motzi, the kiddush, and then the motzi. Would everyone please rise one final time?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen. L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Patei avon.
Shabbat shalom and mazel tov.
Kukuriku, kukuriku, tarnagal kara. Kukuriku, kukuriku, tarnagal kara. Kumachuratzeo, v'tzeil avodah. Kumachuratzeo, v'tzeil avodah. Kum, kum, v'tzeil avodah. Kum, kum, v'tzeil avodah. Kukuriku, kukuriku, tarnagal kara. Kukuriku, kukuriku, tarnagal kara.